Hello and welcome back to a new episode of Real Spooky Stories, place where I tell your real spooky stories. If you'd like to share your story, please email me on realspooky-storiespodcast@gmail.com, or you can join any of the social media below and get in touch with me that way. Thank you so much for joining us this week. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, I am on screen today. This isn't really a vibe, this setup, but I wanted to show you this. I got it for Christmas. I know we're in like February now, but I'm just in love and I'm in the process of getting my room like kind of ready for podcast and filming and stuff. So there will be more going on in the background. And that was the ring light just falling. Okay, yeah, you know what I mean? I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm not putting it back up because who's got time for that? But anyway, you have joined us today on a Liverpool episode. If you can't tell by my accent, obviously I'm from Liverpool, and yeah, most of the stories that I find are about like the US and like places I haven't heard of, or like Michigan and you know things like that, but way off from the UK. And I tried to find stories like this, but I did struggle, I won't lie, especially about Liverpool anyway. I'm probably sure there's more about like actual Britain in general and like England and stuff and places in England, because there is some spooky places in England, let me tell you. But yeah, these are what I found from Liverpool today, and I think I've got a couple. I think I've got 4 today, so I'm gonna just read them and we'll see what we think about them. So this one is from the subreddit Paranormal Encounters. Obviously it will be linked below, of course, as always, and it is titled Paul K, My Imaginary Friend. Taking a break from the house for now, I'd like to tell a story my mum told me recently about myself when I was a wee lad in Liverpool. When I was about 4 or 5, my mum and dad took me on a trip to Delamere Forest. We were driving along when I suddenly pointed to a road that came off the road we were travelling on. I announced to my parents that I used to live up there. Now, when I was a kid, I had an imaginary friend called Paul K. I used to pretend to be him, and my parents assumed that when I pointed, I was being him again. Humoringly, they asked me what it was like. I described a small village around a central green. There was a playing area with swings, a slide and a roundabout. There was a church and a village pub. Surprised by the amount of detail I had described, my dad turned the car around and we turned up the road I had pointed to. We drove for about 10 minutes or so before we entered the small village. There was a green, a playing area with swings, a slide and a roundabout. There was a church and a pub exactly as I had described it. We stopped and got out to explore, and my parents noticed that I was behaving as though I genuinely lived there. I knew what was down the little lanes and other places around the village. Eventually, we carried on with our journey, but my parents had never forgotten what had happened that day, even though I had. When they told me, the hair stood up on the back of my neck, especially when they said that we had never been there before. Thinking about it now, it makes me wonder if Paul K actually existed once. I never did find out. There's not really any comments, just one that says, wow, that is crazy and very interesting. I think you were Paul K. I don't know why you had like an imaginary friend called Paul K, but it was actually you, if you know what I mean. I don't really know what that vibe's about, but it's strange. Like, you always hear, we watched this in RE once, a video on this, and it was like a little boy, and he was from Barra, and he kept saying, my Barra mum. Yeah, so he had like a previous life and he wanted to go to the village. He knew everything about the village and stuff. I think they went, the mum was like really upset, saying he was saying like he wanted to go back to his Barra mum. So yeah, I think his like real mum was upset and stuff, but I don't know, it's just strange, isn't it? Like, little kids say I used to be him. Oh, here's a story. Once I was young, my auntie told me this. I don't know why my mum and dad never mentioned this to me. My auntie only told me this a couple of years ago, probably like 2 years ago. But when I was younger, so my nan used to have, well, she still does, but she's in a different house now. She used to have she's got like a love of Egyptian things. So she had Egyptian stuff all over the house. Yeah, there was just Egyptian stuff everywhere. And she had like little kind of like brick cut out things in the wall, and there was like Egyptian stuff. Anyway, one time my auntie was minding me, and I was a toddler, she said, and she was minding me, and I apparently like said I've been here before or something, and she I can't, it was a few years ago, I can't really remember now, but she was like, what do you mean, what, you're okay? and she had like, you were a baby, like in your little baby voice, and you said, I've been in something like, I've been in an iron bathtub here before, or something like that. I was something about fire in an iron bathtub or something, I think I said. But and then I went up to mum and dad because we were at like a family party, and I was like, did you know about this? And they were like, yeah. So I was like, excuse me, why didn't I? You know. But yeah, I think kids can know about past lives. Do you believe in past lives? I think I do. Okay, let's go on to the second story. This one is taken from the subreddit True Scary Stories, and it is titled My Dash for Life. I have become hooked by true scary stories on YouTube from fellow Reddit users. It dawned me, even though I didn't think I had my own hair-raising story. However, I was wrong, maybe due to the length of the time and me blanking out the experience. Looking back now, this could have ended very badly for me. I'm from London, but this was at university in Liverpool, northern city in the UK, which is most famous for being home of the city of the Beatles. You know, can I just say, I went to Thailand, New Orleans, every single person we said were from Liverpool. They were like, what's that? Do people not know what Liverpool is? Like, I found that weird. Like, I did, at the time, I should have just been like, you know, the Beatles, but I didn't say that. I should have. But we were like, England, and they go, oh, by London. No, not by London. But anyway, sorry, just had to get that off my chest. I was about 19 and not the most sociable guy and lacked confidence with meeting girls. Anyway, I was at university, the campus of performing arts. I lived on the main campus and needed to take a bus to get between both campuses. My drama class had finished and my classmates were leaving and going back to their own rooms or into Liverpool city centre. I went to the men's toilet to go for a leak, and when entering the toilet, noticed suddenly a man at the sink looking at me in the mirror. I don't know why, but I had a sixth sense that there was something unsettling about this young Caucasian man in his early 20s who had eyeballed me back. Anyhow, I did my business and washed my hands, pretended to ignore the man who was still there at the basin, but I think I either ignored or said something like, alright, as in the north of UK, they're a lot more friendlier than southerners like myself. Getting no reply back, I just exited the toilet and the reception was mainly quiet, so I exited the campus building and started on my walk to Liverpool city centre, which was about 20 minutes walk through the roads and out of city centre. I gave no more thought about the strange young man in the toilet. However, that soon changed as I looked back about 5 minutes and noticed the man was walking in the same direction as me. I felt a little unnerved, but maybe just a coincidence as he was going to the city centre. So I just carried on my journey to the city centre. This guy says city centre a lot and it's making my mouth weird. Sometime later, walking past the outer city centre, I noticed the man was still following me, but at the nearer distance. I don't know why, but my sixth sense told me that I needed to be worried, and I quickened my pace up to see if this was the case or if I was over-frighting about nothing. When I approached a long walk to the main shopping centre, I noticed this man was still following me and staring at me with a deadpan stare, literally like a walking zombie. I was now freaking out but didn't want to make a scene, so I ran down the escalator down in the shopping mall, and when I looked up, I noticed the man was coming down the escalator at a pace and his focus all on me. I was now thinking this man wanted to do something bad to me and I don't want to find out what exactly, so I turned past the food court and ducked into a shop and hid behind the corner. I knew that I would have been out of view of the man and he didn't dare look to see if he had rushed past the shop. It was about 3 to 5 minutes that I felt much safer and exited the shop, thinking that I had successfully escaped my tormentor, only a short time later to see the man walking in the opposite direction and walking directly towards me and staring directly at me with no expression. Thinking I was in big trouble now, but surrounded by shoppers, we both walked past each other and nothing happened. My heart felt like it could have exploded, but it calmed right down as I noticed a couple of police officers walking into the shopping centre in my direction. I looked around to see if the man was following me or in my view, but he had thankfully vanished. I didn't speak to the police officers or anyone else about what had just happened, as I felt embarrassed about the event, and probably this guy had a mental problem, and I caused a reaction, or more probably caused his tension in the toilet. I left Liverpool soon after, as I didn't enjoy the course of the really wet winter weather. I am now in my early 30s and a special constable with the Met Police in London. I don't know whatever happened to that man, if he was a student at the university. I'm just grateful that he wasn't able to catch me on that eventful day in 2004. So that was 20 years ago, but still. I wonder if this, interaction made this guy become a police officer to stop people like that, but I don't know, I feel like as you were saying he was following you, I feel like he was just walking to town as well, because it's just one way, like there's no other way you can go. But I feel like maybe he was following you, you got to the escalator, you ran away from him. He kind of like noticed that you kept looking back at him, and he was probably like, what are you looking at? Then when you ran away, he probably ran after you just for a laugh, you know? But if he was on his own, that is weird. Like if you were with your friends and you were like, this guy keeps thinking I'm following him, let's run after him. I mean, it's not funny, but I'm just thinking, did he think it was funny? I don't know. But even if this, like, he really was following you, why did you just stop and then like walk past you like nothing happened? Because you hadn't even saw the police at this point. Strange. Also, I feel you on the wet winter weather, it's not a vibe. Okay, so this next story is from Creepy Encounters, and it is titled, He Tried to Break in My Room with a Fire Extinguisher. In the late 90s, I accompanied my mum to England so she could see where her grandparents had lived. I was basically just there to look after her because my dad didn't want to come and my mum was a hard time doing things for herself. Our agreement was that after spending a week in England, the second week we could spend in Ireland, but my mum was terrible at planning, so we ended up spending a week sort of in limbo in Liverpool, waiting for the Irish Sea to calm down so we could cross on a ferry. It was September, probably the worst month to try crossing, and we never made it to Ireland. So anyways, for 5 days I had to try and find places for us to sleep at night because she also made no hotel reservations for our entire 2-week stay. I was completely unaware of this until we were already in England. I picked a hotel that seemed okay, and my mum paid to sleep in a different room because she has really bad RLS and shakes violently at night. It keeps everybody up. That's restless leg syndrome, I believe. In the middle of the night, I heard a man yelling in the hallway. He had to be very intoxicated. He was pounding on the doors all the way down the hall and hitting the walls. Being the punk-ass kid I was, I made the mistake of acknowledging his rage by telling him to shut up. This really enraged him. He started beating on my door, screaming he was going to kill me. He tried the doorknob, and thank God those doors had an automatic lock. I started looking around the room and realised this hotel has no phones in the room. Like I said, this was the 90s. I went to the window, but I was 3 floors up and the windows didn't open either. So I just stayed there listening as he did his best to break down the door while threatening what he was going to do to me once he opened the door. This went on for at least 20 minutes. Somehow I finally fell asleep. When I woke up the next day, I saw just how much damage he had done. He smashed my door with a fire extinguisher, he pulled off the wall. There was dents and marks all down the hall where he had dragged it violently. I keep looking up because I keep seeing something out the corner of my eye on the thing. But it's just this shadow, but it's not moving. Okay. Sorry. There was dents and marks all down the hall where he had dragged it violently from end to end. The worst part was my mum. I just saw it again. The worst part was my mum down the hall, never said anything. When I told the clerk as we were checking out, he looked up at me like I was crazy and making it up. I told him, just go look. Later I asked my mum about it and she said, oh yes, I thought I heard you screaming. Was that you crying for help? Somebody's commented, wow, that sounds really traumatic. I'm so glad you made it through the terrifying night. It seems crazy to think that your mum or even all the guests heard the screaming and didn't do or say anything. I guess the guests were maybe used to it if it's a regular occurrence at the hotel or were too scared. But not even to tell the hotel staff. Yeah, I agree with that, and the OPs wrote back, I was the only one who notified the staff. The door to the room was completely smashed in. Normally, at least in the States, there is a cleaning cart left in the hall at least somewhere. I was shocked that the cleaning staff had avoided this floor entirely and not reported it. It is strange, like, and especially how your mum didn't notice it. Like, I know that you said she struggles to do things by herself, but at the same time, would she not hear something like this, especially trying to smash your door down with a fire extinguisher is a heavy thing. It's a loud and heavy thing. So I feel sorry for you on that. I wonder what hotel it was. Also, that sounds like a typical night in Liverpool, not gonna lie. Okay, so this is one I found. So it's from the subreddit Liverpool, and it's like a title saying, has anyone ever lived in a haunted house in Liverpool? If so, where was it and what happened? And then there's quite a few comments from people, so I'm just gonna read some of the comments because this is what we want. This is the vibe we want. Okay. I know the other stories weren't like ghosty, but they're still spooky and Liverpool related. But I'm not really making a good name for my city by saying things like that. But anyway, somebody has commented. I will read it. It's like a story. Yes, pretty sure ours is haunted. We call ours Steve. He has occasional tantrums, like throwing a heavy tub of oil on the floor in front of my partner. No way it fell or was unbalanced due to the size and weight of it, and it was on a flat surface. We're pretty sure Steve even told our Alexa to play music one day. I have the screenshot saved of the Alexa taking the command, yet nobody was in the house at the time. Additionally, we've smelled cigarettes and men's cologne. Both occupants at the house are female. We know the weed smell is neighbours, so that doesn't faze us, but the cologne has freaked my partner and I out a few times. If my partner and I get amorous, Steve has slammed doors upstairs, there's no windows open at the time, etc. We've also put stuff down and it moved later. Heard random noises around the house. My mum even woke one morning when she visited and my mum was whispering in her ear, yet woke up and was only her and her dog. The OP who wrote the original thing has replied, "Wow, what part of Liverpool are you in? I have heard things and seen videos of Alexa talking to people and people asking questions and Alexa answers. I'd so love to see all this stuff, you're so lucky. My mum used to have a ghost of her Uncle George who used to lock her in the bedroom and open the door at the same time every night. He died in a gas explosion at work. My nan just told her to shut the door so he can't look in anymore. Every time the door would open, they would all shout, 'Come in, George. Have you tried to communicate with him?'" The person who wrote about the ghost, called Steve, has put, "We mostly tell him to calm down or for him to get a room when we're in the mood. We have also heard footsteps from time to time when both of us have been in the house. One time we were both watching TV in the front room and heard them in our hallway. I ended up arming myself with something to hand and walked out. The fact my logical mind was saying someone would have had picklocked the door, and know both doors are bad for silence, plus keys are left in when we're both home. Walked around the corner and felt a fool as no one was there. Or we'll hear walking upstairs while we're downstairs. This isn't a creak or anything, but footsteps into a room. My partner's just said she's had a few feelings of someone hiding behind our dining room door. Has once caught a glimpse of someone peeking through the archway into the front room. That's horrible. The feeling tends to be infrequent. The last time I worked away from home at night, it was that strong she didn't want to go upstairs to bed." Someone was saying about like what song was it and blah blah blah, and they've put, "It freaked us out given we'd both been out and my partner thought it was me. I know whatever it was, it's not anything I'd play. Rock song." It was kind of an old bluesy type song. There's quite another comment on that story, but if you want to read, click below, it'll be linked below as always. Anyway, here's another comment from that original question. "Yes, in Highton. It was a 1950s house and the guy who owned it had died. We gutted it and decorated it. Strange things started to happen. We smelled cigarettes at the time in the main bedroom. Lights would go on by themselves. In fact, the bedroom light would go on as well as we walked upstairs. Things would disappear. My wife's wedding and engagement ring vanished off the bedroom table. She searched all over the house all day. Next morning, they were back on the table. We had touch lamps next to the bed and they would turn on all the time. Even when I turned them off at the wall, you could hear them being tapped. My mate saw someone walk past them upstairs. We stayed there 3 years. On the day we moved, I asked the neighbour did the previous fella die in the house, and she said he died in bed and he chain smoked in bed. Why did you not ask before you moved out?" Somebody has replied to that one. "If this house was off Bluebell Lane, I've been in it. If not, I had a similar experience when viewing a house, and ghosts all have the same MO. So we were buying a house, 2007 I think. This one comes up on Baker's Green. It's not all that different to what we've been viewing, but it was double fronted, so kind of looked a lot nicer from the outside. Begged my husband to go, and I fully expected to love it. Anyway, go in and was just immediately hit by the sense that something wasn't right. I could smell cigarettes, but not like old cigarettes. I could smell them plain as day if they were being smoked fresh in the house. The place was freezing, which was weird because it wasn't outside. I was in the kitchen and thought someone walked behind me. The same in the front room, then going up the stairs, a man's voice grumbled and I spun round so fast I nearly fell. As we got to the top of the stairs, we heard the back door open and slam shut again. Estate agent said that door always does that. Bedroom just had this plain as day ghost vibe about it, highlighted by the fact there was a cigarette stain directly above the bed, denting the carpet from where his feet went as he stood. Felt like I could practically see how he lived and I didn't like it. Final straw was we were stood by the front door talking to the estate agent and I could see shadows very clearly on the landing, which I would have sworn were a man's figure. As we were driving off, it just felt like someone was watching me through the bedroom window, not that I saw anything. Weirdly, my husband didn't feel anything and wanted to buy it. We didn't buy it. And the person, original post back, mine was in St Anne's Road, so it's a different house. They've commented again. There's so many comments and stuff on this, so yeah, just go and have a read, but I'll just read this one. "Thanks for sharing your story. That sounds really scary. I know what you mean about being watched out of a window. I feel that all the time. I heard a man whisper down my ear once when I was little at my uncle's in Shoebrook, Craig Road. I told my nan and she said, tell my uncle, and the next time that happens, say, what do you want? Told my uncle and he said, that's where the man stands. I had no idea about anything. Wonder who lives in the houses now and if they get the same vibe. Highton, by the comments, is turning out to be a hotspot. My friend's story, which I think was like episode 2 or something, the witch on the roof episode, which was Hannah's story, that was in Highton as well. So have a little read. Here's another one. Lived in a house for a year in Allerton. Would hear someone run down the stairs and slam the front door. Smelled cigarette smoke in the middle of the night in my bedroom and felt like someone was sat in the end of the bed. Heating would get turned on and off. Heard someone knocking on the bathroom room. I don't know what it was, but I didn't believe in ghosts. There was no one else around though. Here's someone else on Highton. My nan's house in Highton was said to be haunted. They called him Nicky Knock. I only remember that they would hear footsteps going up and down the stairs. I was creeped out because they always had the loft door / hatch open, and I swore that's where he lived. The main thing that freaks me out is that my nan, years before she passed, said she was in the bed asleep one night and woke up in the middle of the night to old people standing at the foot of the bed clapping at her. A couple of years later, my sister was sleeping in the same bed. She hadn't heard the story before but told my mum that she woke up in the middle of the night to old people clapping at her around the foot of the bed. Could have been a dream, but it's still weird that they were both the exact same dream. Somebody has replied, thanks, that's amazing a story. Is the house still lived in? They've put, thanks, I always got kind of a creepy vibe when I slept on the couch downstairs to watch wrestling, but can't remember hearing anything. My uncle still lives there, but I think he stays in a different bedroom than the one this happened in. I'll ask my mum to see if he's had any experiences of late. I've since moved to America and the town I live has many haunted houses apparently. See, it's always America. I'll still read what they've wrote. We even have a yearly ghost walk. The house next door but one has many crazy stories. One window was always open by itself, even when they nailed it shut and removed the window completely. Another story they've told us is that when their daughter was a baby, she was in her bedroom making noises. When they went in to check on her, she told them she was talking to her grandmother, who had died long before she was born. A while later, either months or a year, they were going through an old family album and the daughter pointed at a picture of the grandmother and said that's her grandmother. It was, and it was the first time they had gone through the pictures with her, containing a picture of her grandmother. They have other stories about seeing shadows too, etc. So, obviously, the original post on the Liverpool subreddit has said, like, has anyone lived in a haunted house in Liverpool? And that's what all these comments are for. Somebody commented, no, because ghosts aren't real. Somebody has commented, hauntings are not real. They are a reasonable indicator of carbon monoxide leaks, though. If you think your house is haunted, get a plumber in to check all the gas fittings. Every single house that hears knocking and toilets flushing, gas turning on by itself, things going missing, is not due to carbon monoxide. Like, you know what I mean? They're really, like, going on. Someone's put, our house used to be haunted, blah, blah, blah. Someone's put, we did get a brand new boiler and central heating system. The original person's put, doesn't mean it's not leaking. Someone put, it wasn't. They've put, might be worth telling your neighbours to get theirs checked if that's the case. They've put, no, it's okay. He's put, okay, I just know you're not haunted. And he's put, not anymore now. And he's put, it never was, sorry. And they've put, don't be sorry. Like, why? If people want to believe in things, just let them believe in it. Like, what's the issue? Somebody's put, my dad said one of his mates heard a baby crying and commented about someone seeing to it when there was no baby in the family, and one of his sisters said she saw like a monk going round praying in Latin on the landing once. This was one of the houses up by the Rocket as you come off the motorway. Don't know what the Rocket is, sorry. There's literally so many comments on here, so if you want to go and have a little read. And yeah, and that's the end of the episode. That's all I could find. I'm sorry about this setup, sorry about the lighting, sorry about this, sorry about this. No, I'm not sorry about this, but sorry about just everything. I want to start filming them more, so hopefully it'll be better. I just want to see you when you see me. I mean, I know I can't see you. I don't know what I'm going on about there, but yeah, I just feel more of a connection when we can see each other. But I mean, I can't see you. I'm sorry, I don't know why I keep saying I can see you because I can't. Okay, thanks so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to give a little like and a subscribe or a follow, whatever you are listening on. And if you want to send your real spooky stories in, please email realspookystoriespodcast@gmail.com. It is linked below. All today's stories are linked below, of course, and all the social media is linked below if you want to join us too. So thanks so much for listening to this episode, and I will see you next week. Bye.